you're going to find yourself getting passed by multiple cars, as I mentioned earlier on. So you are in a very precarious situation, but he often finds himself in these places. Doesn't qualify as well as he races. Only
Up front, they are getting with Lee Aberdeen and Luca Varani. Not very far at all here. But I just want to see how Alistair Haight deals with Marcello Kessler coming around the old hairpin.
And I would say it's not the best decision they've ever made, just not having done that under the safety car, really.
Yeah, they're taking their pit stop strategies from Ferrari lately, isn't it? What's going on?
In turn one, just too much gas on them, too much feet on the loud pedal, and unfortunately he's dropped him all the way down the order. But Phillip Hammer is out in front by an 8.91 seconds. Oh, Dan Michael is a wall there, sir. And definitely doesn't want to be hitting that earlier on as well.
Typical, the understeer is in the dirty air through that final corner because it's such a long corner and you get dragged off into the grass very easily. He'll have the slipstream down towards the chicane. Peterson was briefly alongside, but that slipstream has saved him and kept him in third.
Yeah, Varani now lost a little bit of time to Aberdeen, about half a second. Peterson is Pike's pushed more and forward up ahead. He's got out of line. It's now Pike going to have a go at Werrell. Don't push him off. He's in the championship fight. Jack Werrell chasing down Carl Jacklin. Further down, Rob Williams and Chris Barnes.
Sensational run outside line now though for the heavy braking zone. Around the outside goes the Audi R8.
Look how much Miller's caught back into play. Exactly, Miller's still such trouble. He's not on second and change. All of a sudden, Miller's back in play.
Moving on to the back end of Phil Jocelyn. So there's been a lot of movers and shakers in this first 2 laps here for race.
Absolutely serious racing league. Everybody's a lot of fun. Yeah, it's all about the entertainment. So I hope everybody is enjoying themselves out there in the chat. We know that Ron is been enjoying himself watching. The Burger King machine's off into the grass a little bit there. Is that really bunching up now?
Hello everybody and welcome to the OGRL Coffee Cup here for round 10 at Phillip Island. We've got a couple of weeks to go now until 2 weeks off at the end of October. Here, Imola and the Nürburgring Grand Prix circuit still yet to come. That means the high-speed circuits on this calendar at Bathurst and Le Mans now behind us. It's the twists and turns of Phillip Island As the name suggests, we're on an island just south of Melbourne here in Australia, Victoria, and very much looking forward to one of my favourite circuits in Australia, although there are not many bad ones. Myself, Ian O'Leary, and James Parfitt with you for the next hour and a bit as we take you through this round of the championship. And as you may well have noticed, it's a little bit wet, although, James, not quite as wet as what we saw 1 week ago.
Yeah, it's not as wet as Le Mans. And it's not raining at the moment, so it looks like we've had the downpour and now it's just drying up a little bit. So we'll see how these guys get on and see what the tyre choice will be and whether or not they're going to be on dries. It's kind of a bit of a mixture. We've got some on wets. However, the wet runners are in the pit lane, apart from Jeff Shrewsbury, who probably shouldn't be on wets by the looks of that, and everybody else is on dry tyres.
Okay, yeah, there's a lot of drivers struggling at the moment for grip, as you might expect, and it's drying up. Even when we started the countdown 5 minutes ago, the times were in the 1:30 at very best. Now we're down into the 28s, but just how low are we going to go? I think by the end of qualifying and warm-up, if the session states carry over as you'd expect, then we will be dry by the race, I think. But will it continue to dry as quickly? Because don't forget, there's about 20 minutes worth of sessions coming up before we actually get the race underway. So it's about 20 minutes away from race start. So that's a lot of time for the track to dry out, especially a dry line to form. It's not about the whole circuit drying out, but just the dry line. And Jeff Shrewsbury is indeed finding that very tricky in the gravel, as you might expect. It's also not one of those circuits you can run wide into the runoff and find yourself doing all right. You can find yourself very easily into the grass and sliding your way through there. Wet grass as well here. So am I right in saying the sort of white tyres on the left-hand side there indicate dries?
Dries, yeah. Blues, dries are white, wets are blue. And Jeff Shrewsbury is on the wets. He's the only one on the wet tyres currently, basically. We're inside the top 25. Everybody else is on dries at the moment. So there's some people who have taken a chance and gone onto slicks. Others are staying on, well, Jeff's staying on the wets. But it looks like also,
oh no.
Oh, well, that's swapped over the session, unfortunately, so we can't look back at that one. But, yeah, it's going to be exciting. I'm going to be interested to see how these guys get on, to be honest, because we've got, what have we got, nearly 37 cars on the racetrack. So we'll see how 37 cars going down into turn one is going to cope.
Shouldn't be terrible because we've got a relatively gentle first corner. It's not a big braking zone like it was at Le Mans or like it is at somewhere like Monza. So we'll see how they go. Damien Hoverton getting his tyres warmed up here on the way through turn number one. He's the first driver out in this session on the dry tyres, as is and as that suggests, actually going very wide and into the gravel immediately on these dry compound tyres, and JC Sawyer will overtake him, although of course they can't see each other on the circuit. It's going to be a lot about tyre warm up here, I feel. Generally you don't struggle for tyre temperature around Phillip Island. You actually struggle to keep the tyre temperature down is the main problem, but actually you're going to have the opposite here. You're going to want to keep the temperatures high in pretty cool track temperatures, just 17 degrees Celsius on the circuit. It's pretty cool for these tyres, and it's as shown by the fact it's quite early in the morning as well. So that's not going to help, since they're trying to put as much heat in as possible.
Yeah, definitely not. We've got a mix of wets and dries. Dan Svorak is out on the wet tyres. Nick Marshall is also on the wets, and Cameron Risley is on the wets as well. So it's going to be interesting to see how this is handled. I think we'll give it a minute or so to get all the times coming in and see what we get, but I think it could be the dry runners at the top of the standings as soon as the times start coming through. So we'll keep an eye out, but I think it could be a dry run qualifying.
Just about, although I find it difficult to believe because it looks wet to me. But anyway, the guys have gone with dry tyres, so fair enough. Over the line for Damien Hoverton then, seems to be the first driver to be starting his lap time. Of course, came pretty close 1 week ago to getting that victory at Le Mans, but missed out in the end. And oh dear, he's off immediately on the way towards turn 2. He did that on his warm-up lap. He's done it again, I'm afraid, on this lap as well. I'd imagine in that case then, JT Sawyer has overtaken him. No, JT Sawyer's also off the road. It seems that turn 2 is the difficult part of the circuit initially through the southern loop. And as I said earlier, there's no chance for runoff round here. You're immediately into the grass if you're going wide. And so far, plenty of drivers have managed to find themselves going wide and into the grass.
Yeah, I think that's the thing, isn't it? They're going to have to be a little bit careful to be able to get a lap in, because if they start going off at the beginning of qualifying, they've got another lap to do before it will register, because obviously it's an off track, so therefore the times won't register on the board. Then they'll have to go again, and if they get another one, it's going to have to go again, and then if they get another one, by that point you're running out of time. So they've got to be a little bit sensible. Probably I would try to get a banker in. It's not going to be an exceptionally fast banker, but something is better than nothing. And at the moment, there's a lot of drivers with nothing. In fact, the whole field, we have not got one time on the board.
Yeah, Brian LaPlatte was briefly fastest in the middle sector. Wonder whether he's still going on the circuit or whether he has got an off-track throughout this lap. I'm not entirely sure. And we do finally have a time come through as they complete their first lap times. Cody Ponce has managed to set a time first time round. Horberton obviously was off the circuit, which is why his didn't count. Brian LaPlatte does go to the top briefly, although he's overtaken by Jonathan Williams in the Pro-Am standings. None of the pros really have set times yet. Michael Dion is getting overtaken by everybody who is set times here pretty much. I'd imagine he'll be able to improve a little bit later on. There we go. Jeremy Cheney now makes his way to the top of the standings in a Ferrari. So 5 different manufacturers in the top 5. That's been ruined slightly by Alan Purser, who moves up into 4th position, as well as Barry Acker, who moves towards Pro and Pole. Sean Riley now goes to the top of the standings as well. Ryan Merriam going pretty quickly here. He will be one to watch. He was fastest at some points during the qualifying session. I'm afraid his final part of the lap here doesn't look like it was quite good enough for pole position, is it? Let's see over the line. Or has he even gone off track? I'd imagine he's gone off track, actually.
Yep.
Because he hasn't set a time there at all. So Sean Riley will continue on pole position just for the moment, as Ryan Merriam makes his second attempt at a lap time now.
Yeah, he's got nothing on the board at the moment. And he wants to make sure he can get something. Sean Riley 1:28.369. Josh Herron 28.4. Damien Horvath just gone pole on a 1:28.331. So maybe the dry tyres are starting to kick in a little bit here, and it's drying out. Tarina Chapman, YouTube chat. Good morning, everyone. Excited for today's race, so are we. And obviously JK Racing and Salty Sailor, and of course Ben Groves in the YouTube chat there as well, talking about how we didn't want to miss this one, as it's at Phillip Island, and it's an amazing circuit.
It is. Very
I don't argue that. This is one of these ones where I'm actually going to not argue that, Mr. O'Leary. You know what I mean? Unlike Lemons last week, which was just painful. I'm actually quite excited for this.
Yeah, I like the circuit as well. What's today?
Blimey, that never happens.
It's true. We're in agreement today on the quality of this circuit. Over the line for Ryan Merriam, who hasn't gone quite as quick as he did before in the second and third sector, according to that graphic, but he does go fast enough for pole position. There you go, a 1:28.3, and he's gone 1/1000th of a second quicker than Damien Horvath. That is remarkable. I think that graphic says they're on the same time. They're 1,000 apart as things stand, but they're both now behind Josh Herring, who goes only a 10th quicker than this. This is going to be one of those sessions that just keeps getting quicker and quicker and quicker as we go through.
Yeah, I think it's more of how the circuit dries out. It's going to be the situation, isn't it? We're on, looks like a pretty dry circuit. There's still some spray coming out the back end of that Porsche on the screen of Brian Dukowski. But I think overall, it's pretty dry. So if you are on wets, I'd probably suggest getting off the wet tyres ready to go for the race, because get some practice in on the dries. David Van Rooij sitting in 6th at the moment. He's on his way up to the left-hander of Siberia, so we'll see how he gets on, but it's going to be very interesting. I think that Lukey Heights down into MG, I think could be a little bit of a flashpoint. I'm hoping it isn't, but you just never quite know whether it will be on that one. Do you know what I mean? And I think overall, there's going to be a lot of people that could be making some errors, I think, on this, and we could see a few into the grass.
Yeah, we very much could. It's very easy to do. Through the final few corners now for David Van Roy. You can just see with the onboard there being very, very careful with how he applies the throttle, how he applies the brake, and how he turns into these corners as well. Josh Herring goes to the top meanwhile with a 28.0. Was that a bit wide from Van Roy? Not sure as he went through the final corner there. Not sure it's an improvement anyway, actually, based on that time I could see. And he looks like he will stay in 6th position. So it's going to be the order that we see at the moment. I think at the start of this race, there's not many now still on the circuit who can really do something to change the top 10 standings.
Yeah, Bradley Lovins, traditionally last out. Traditionally, no time. So I don't know if that's Bradley's, lucky thing to do. Some people have lucky underpants. Brad might be lucky the fact that he goes out last. Who knows? But he does it every single week. So, there we go. Not even done a lap yet. This is his out lap.
Slightly weird, but it's good that we've got someone to watch out the circuit, to be honest, because we haven't got very many. All of the top 10, apart from Bradley Tidwell and Ryan Merriam, are still out on the circuit, or in the pit lane, I should say. Only those two are out there as things stand. It looks like Josh Herring is going to take the pole position then. And, of course, he is...
Oh, don't do that. Don't do that, Mr. O'Leary.
Who's going to overtake him? I mean, Marshall Crocker Jr. has just gone over the line in 12th place. Ryan Merriam's still out there, but I don't see his times coming through at the moment.
You've got the man on your screen, Mr. Lovins.
Yeah, but he's not going to take overall pole, is he? He might take pole in class.
Oh, Brad, if you're listening to this, you've got to go and get pole position now. Prove him wrong, Brad.
I don't know. It is possible, isn't it? He did win last week, so it is possible. But I don't see it personally. It's just because, mainly, because he's not on the screen on the left-hand side. He's only just starting his lap times now, as you just mentioned. We have got a couple of drivers who are still yet to start their times, by the way, apart from Lovings and Joey Mains as well, who's been out there a couple of times so far. There he is in the final corners. That's Mike Brady. Just behind him is Joey Mains in the on the road. There he is in the Porsche. And so this driver anyway is one of those who hasn't set a time just yet. We've got 38 though already. We should have about 40 to start this race. Does Joey Mains finally get a time in here? Mike Brady has to 29th. Doesn't look like Joey Mains has been able to here. He might run out of laps. So it is up to Bradley Lovings now, the final driver, to set a time for the first time in this session. And maybe indeed it will be a pole position as he comes into the final few corners now.
Yeah, Joey's not going to have a time because he's just been off the side of the circuit. We'll keep an eye out. Brad's still got one more. You know what I mean? They got 3 to do, and he's only on, this is his first flying lap. So he's had his lap, first flying lap. He's got one more after this. Let's see how he gets on. He'll get it in as well because they're only on 1 minute 30s. Now, he's got to prove you wrong here, hasn't he? He's got to go on to pole position. 1:28.02. What's that? No, 28.305. Goes into third. He's got one more crack, Mr. O'Leary, and he's only got 3 attempts to find.
I think as well, generally, these drivers have been getting faster as they go along, so this could be another improvement to at least the front row for Bradley Lovings. Out of Southern Loop he goes, making sure he's nowhere near the grass, nowhere near the curbs either. They will be a little bit slippery, I would have thought, given the rain. Down in towards turn 4, the big braking zone, the big hairpin. It's sort of turning before you have to get on the brakes there, which makes it very awkward. Short exit through turn 5, which is not really a corner, and then into Siberia at turn 6. Uphill left-hander, power on up through here, and then you get towards 7 and 8, and they're great corners to go drive through. Turn 7 and turn 8 especially, absolutely committed, although I think in a GT3 it might be flat out these days. Then into turn 9 at Lukey Heights, right over the top of this circuit, and you can tell you're at the top because you plunge down the other side right the way down towards turn number 10. And then getting the power on through 11, which is really awkward. Even though you've got traction control, it's very easy to get this little bit of traction zone wrong Bradley Loving staying a long way away from the sides of the circuit, which makes me feel maybe he's not going to be on pole here, but maybe everyone's been doing that just to stay off the wet curbage. It's Bradley Loving's up towards the line. It's not looking bad here as the circuit's continually getting drier. What will he do? It could be an improvement. It is. He does get to the front row. I thought he was improving, and he does get up to the front row, but he's still just over a tenth behind Josh Herring.
And he's still got his last lap. This is the final crack at the whip for Mr. Lovins here. This is like bite your nails situation. If he gets a green in sector 1, I'm going to probably bet this might be... Oh, love it. It's green in sector 1. Let's see what he gets in that middle sector and see if he can grab that pole position. And prove you wrong, Mr. O'Leary.
Oh, yeah. Well, I'm sure that's forefront of his mind as he's going around right now.
No, it's the forefront of my mind.
Well, yeah, that much is true. Through the fast sweepers at the end of the lap, he goes again.
Oh,
it
it's
just
green.
looks so slow, doesn't it, in the dry conditions? Because they're not using the sides of the road because it's so wet. It looks like they're just pootling around, to be honest, and driving around on a bit of a Sunday. But, well, I suppose it's Sunday. But, you know, it doesn't look like he's pushing, but he's certainly going very quickly. Out of this traction zone, now you can just see him starting to apply the throttle a little bit earlier. Just push on that little bit more. He's waited for the ideal conditions at the very end. Has he finally been vindicated in waiting to the very end of each session to go and set his lap time? It's going to be close. Is it going to be pole? It is just about pole position for Bradley Lovings at 27.9, the first driver to go below the 128s, and it's Bradley Lovings who should take pole position for this race.
And you might even hear Mr. O'Leary apologise on broadcast after saying about 5 minutes ago Josh Herring was going to be on pole position.
I'm not going to apologise. I was wrong.
I'm admitting I'm wrong. That will do. So there we go.
That will do. Yes, Bradley Lovings takes pole position. I mean, this track now is not fully dry by any means. And as I say, you've got to take absolute caution with the size of the circuit, especially. I hope that doesn't decrease from the likelihood that they'll race each other and go side by side, because it could be quite tricky to go side by side. But we will wait and see on that front when we get into the race. 55 minutes in length, of course, for Phillip Island. Our second wet. Are we going to call this a wet race? It kind of is.
No, it'll be dry. I think it'll be dry by the time they come into the race. I do love Sam Katkazinos' message in YouTube chat. Good day from Australia. Sam is an Australian. I thought I could hear you lot over my back fence here in Australia.
Wouldn't be surprised.
Leonardo, hello mate, how are you? Right, we've got a warm up, Mr. O'Leary. Should we go through the scores from last week, or
yes.
The scores on the doors? Let's start with the AMs.
Scores on the doors. This is after 9 rounds, by the way, of our championships. Gary Spencer took, and by the way, just before I go through this, all of the championship leaders going into Le Mans took a bit of a hit to their points lead last week. So Gary Spencer only holds 4 points over JT Sawyer now, who gained 4 points on him last time out. Heath Ollinger is just 19 behind, with Mike Elliott 29 behind. Joey Mains is rounding out the top 5 there ahead of Scott Carlson. Daniel Murray, another 7 back in 7th place. Jose Valentin is in 8th place ahead of James Hillerick, and Brian LaPrat, who we've already seen in this session, he rounds out the top 10 in the AM standings. In Pro-Am, it was Bradley Tidwell who took the little bit of a points hit. He's now down to 8 points ahead of Quentin Price after losing 4 points himself as well last week. Pernod Hanno is quite a long way back now, 66 points behind. Barry Acker a further 13 behind, although I think he's on pole for this race. Indeed he is on pole for this one at Phillip Island. Kenny Bourgeois rounds out the top 5. Jonathan Williams another 4 points back. There's a bit of a jump back to Mark Bolton in 7th. Brian Hoskins is 8th ahead of Michael Champlin, and William Bailey rounding out the top 10 in Pro-Am. And finally in the pros, I should say, Josh Herring is now 20 points ahead. He lost 2 points last week to Bradley Lovings, who won the race, and of course who is on pole here as well. Jeremy Cheney is 3rd ahead of Cole Modric and Richard Modric, who's tied on points with Ryan Merriam, who's back here today in 6th position. He was here at Le Mans, of course, finishing just in, I believe, 3rd place at the end of the day. Bill Backer is 7th after dropping a few points further back, 36 back on Merriam. Alan Purser, who still wishes he was in a Lexus, he's in a BMW though, he's 8th. David Van Roy is in 9th, and then Michael Dion is in 10th. He's also in this session today. In fact, I think all the top 10, apart from Bill Backer, is here today. I haven't seen Bill, but I think the rest of them are all here, including both Modricks. So yeah, most of the top 10 in the championship are indeed here today. It's set up quite well, I think. Maybe not in Pro so much. However, in the Pro-Am and Am standings, it's just an 8-point and a 4-point championship margin. That's a great sign after 9 rounds of a long season so far.
Yeah, absolutely, and I think the race has been really close as well. We do have Bill back on YouTube chat and drop this week too. Well, I've had other stuff on that one. Now listen as well, I've got to do something really quickly. There's a young gentleman in this series who we all know and love is currently in hospital, queuing up for a operation. Now, we all know who that is, of course. Our very own Mr. Kenny Bourgeois is in hospital. He is queuing up for an operation as we speak. So if we can get some hearts in the YouTube chat for Kenny, that will be absolutely amazing. Much love to you, Kenny. I hope it all goes well. Been talking to him through the week, and he's, as I say, set up, ready to go today. So much love to Kenny Bourgeois. I hope everything goes all right, my man, and look forward to having a little bit of a chat with you later on. So if you can just press that heart button for me on the right hand side, and also put hearts on in YouTube, that would be absolutely amazing for Kenny, just so we know that we're all thinking about him with his operation. But yeah, get well soon, my man, and I hope to have a chat with you hopefully tomorrow.
I hope it all goes well, and we'll see you on a Coffee Cup grid sometime soon. Warm-up just a minute or so away from its conclusion here at Phillip Island. So we're very much looking forward to this. There'll be a grid will pop up when we transfer forward, I should say, and then we'll get ready to begin the race. As you say, that run down towards turn 1 is always an important one, but just wonder how it's going to be here. It's one of the very few first corners at the calendar, or on any calendar, that are actually very, very quick indeed. It's not a big braking zone, not a big stop. Instead, it's a nice flowing opening corner. So I wonder if that's going to make it a bit easier for everybody to make their way through the first chicane this time, as opposed to what we saw last week at Le Mans, where we saw the Am pole sitter spinning off the road.
My only worry is if you're going through the first turn too wide. Generally, if you're on the outside, you're going to wash out, and then once you hit the curb and the grass, you are going to be in trouble. So I'm hoping that they all manage to get through turn 1 okay. Too wide can work, but you have to do it very, very respectively.
Yep, I suppose so. Well, they may well wash out.
Well, no, so they actually do, Mr. O'Leary, otherwise you end up on the grass. So there we go.
Yes, let's hope that doesn't happen. Wet grass as well, as it will be. The rain has fallen earlier on in the practice session, and so it is still rather damp. Bradley Lovings will be on pole, though, ahead of Josh Herring. Jemmy Huffington and Ryan Merriam will be sharing row 2, ahead of Sean Riley and Marshall Crocker Jr. It is Jeremy Cheney and David Van Roy next, with Michael Dion and Alan Purser rounding up the top 10. Barry Acker is on pole in Pro-Am, ahead of Cole Modric. Pro, but most of Acker's rivals are on this next page, on the next 6 rows. It is Bradley Tidwell and Jonathan Williams on row 7, ahead of Quentin Price, who's second in the championship, Pro-Am Championship. That is Brian LaPratt, the Am pole sitter, is alongside Jeff Shrewsbury, and a long way ahead of his rivals. Eric Gunzel is in 18th, ahead of Rick Modric and Mike Elliott, who are sharing row 10. That's second in Am, followed by third in Am, Heath Ollinger. Benno Hanno is 22nd overall, with Gary Spencer and Cody Bont next on the 12th row. Scott Carlson and Curtis Matthews share row 13, and Brian Jakowski is a long way from his pro rivals, I should say. The Ams are all around him. JD Sawyer next up, followed by Clyde Cumfer and Mike Brady, rounding out the top 30. Dan Sporak is next, ahead of Matthew Brennan. Brian Henson and James Hillerick on the next row, followed by Jeff Sepulveda and Brett Basil. This is over 5 seconds off pole now, by the way, for these guys. Nick Marshall and Cameron Risley next. These guys didn't really get a representative lap time in. Anthony Hutchinson and Brian Hoskins rounding out the top 40. Justin Cook Joey Mains and Stuart Gibbons didn't set a time in qualifying. We did see Joey Mains out on the circuit though, so hopefully he will be for the race. Justin Cock is as well. However, Stuart Gibbons is not. It looks like we may well not be getting him off to a start here today, unfortunately, as I think that's the cars disappearing in the distance. It is indeed, as we go aboard with the leader, pole sitter, Bradley Lovings, off on their formation lap, ready for this race. 55 minutes will be on the clock, and they've got a minute or two on this formation lap to try and sort out their tyre temperatures, try and get themselves up to temperature, try and figure out where the wet patches of this circuit still are, because they will be dotted around this circuit for sure.
Yeah, there's still going to be a little bit of a few dotted in and around, so we'll have to see how these guys get on, and hopefully they might be okay. We'll keep an eye on that. I know there was a little bit of blinking there, guys. It's been an issue on and off throughout this race. Hopefully it will settle itself down once we get up and running underway there as well. So apologies if you have just seen that. I can't give you an answer as to why. I'm not entirely sure.
It does normally just clean itself out anyway when the race actually starts, but as you can imagine, it's quite a lot to look at. 42 GT3s bouncing down in towards turn number 1. With spray, with rain and all that, it's quite difficult. So there we go. But we should be smoothed out by the end of the first sector at least. Through the final sector they go towards the start though. Bradley Lovings will have an important start to make here, but you can't forget about 1 week ago. It was a great battle through the race between himself, Josh Herring, there, and Damien Hoverton was also there as well, finishing in second position in the end. What a great battle it was. I wonder whether we're going to see something similar here.
Well, yeah, I think we will. I think it's going to be absolutely amazing. I'll be interested to see what Hoverton can do from that third place. How is he going to get on here, trying to make his way through the field? And Lovins in that Porsche at the moment, looking very, very speedy indeed. So it's going to be very, very interesting to see here. There's been some form of drama. Maybe they was just going very slowly towards the back of the circuit. So, but yeah, Bradley Lovins will be leading away very, very shortly.
He's now in control of the field, and when he can see the lights, he'll be in ultimate control here. He can go when he wants, and he goes very early. It's the pole very early indeed, and Bradley Lovins gets this race underway. It's round 10 of the Coffee Cup here from Phillip Island. 55 minutes ready to go. 3 Porsches on the front. They immediately get single file. They know that it's wet outside of the dry line. And Overton goes straight into the side of Josh Herring, who's off into the gravel immediately. We knew it would happen. We could see it happening. 2 by 2 into turn 1 wouldn't work. The wet patches on the side of the dry line just make it impossible to go side by side through there. Hoverton's hit Herring, and that has sent Josh Herring, the championship leader, to the very back of the field.
He's just gone. He has gone down and down and down as Josh Herring, unfortunately. And that all started from Mr. Hoverton being at the inside there as well. Was there a suitable overlap?
Wasn't going to make the corner.
No. No,
Well,
it definitely
he might
was.
make the corner, but he wasn't going to give sufficient room, I don't think, to Herring at all. So, and you could see the spray, couldn't you? You could almost see it happening on the way towards turn 1. You could see the spray, and Hoverton thought he could manage it, but there's just no grip there. He got straight into the side of Herring, and at that speed, the Porsche is never going to sustain that level of contact, and Herring was always going to go straight off into the gravel. Yeah,
the scariest thing is here, right, we've had Pernell Hanalei off the circuit, Rick Modric has been off the circuit, Gary Spence has been off the circuit, Curtis Matthews has been off the circuit, Heath Hollinger's had a crash, and he's been off as well. So a lot of people struggling early on. Don't forget they are on dry tyres, the circuit is drying out, and Ryan Henderson has also now been off at the same time. So a lot's going on here in this opening round at the moment, in this opening part of sectors of the race. And you can see here Bradley Tidwell sitting in with Cole Modric, Jeremy Cheney and Barry Acker, who's leading the Pro-Ams. And then in front of that, Sean Riley and Marshall Crocker Jr. are on the race circuit together as well. So a lot of action throughout this grid here.
We will have some some replays for you in a few moments' time about what has gone on in the opening lap, but it's still side by side for fifth here. I think O'Reilly just has to go defensive on Ben Roy, I think that was. It was indeed. Or he was going on the offensive to Crocker Jr., not entirely sure, but it was probably a bit of both as he went in towards the big stop at turn number 4. This is the highest battle in the field, by the way. The podium drivers already separated each by 1 second. Rodney Lovell, including Damien Hilton and Brian Merriam, who is in 3rd place, and then it gets a lot closer, a little bit further back. Brian LaPlatte, by the way, still leading in AM in a very high 13th place for him, a long way ahead of his main rivals.
Yeah, Brian LaPlatte flying at the moment as well. He's got 4 cars in between him. Brett Basil's been off, Ryan Henderson again, Dudkowski's been off, Coates been off, and O'Halley has crashed and jumped straight into the pits. Alan, I wish I was in Alexa Purser, is there at the moment as well. He's got Quinton Price in the McLaren alongside him at the same time. So a lot happening here already. A lot of action taking place. We do finally have the McLaren logo in the SDK as well, so that's great to see. But yeah, Jeff Shrewsbury having a little bit of a ding-dong here with Quinton as well.
He gets through. Quinton didn't get a very good run as he was overtaken by Purser going onto the straight. Didn't get a good run, so Shrewsbury gets down the inside of him, and so does Ponte in the Anfield. That's Cody Ponte trying to get down the inside of the McLaren here of Quinton Price. He needs to stop losing positions because he's losing points to Bradley Tidwell. He does power past on the outside though through turn 2. Into turn 3, he should consolidate the place. Up in 9th position, it looks like Modric has gotten through on Jeremy Cheney here, who hasn't made a very good start at all here, I'm afraid, Jeremy Cheney. He's down 3 places from 7th. Cole Modric is up 3 places now as he passes Cheney for 9th. It's not quite over as he's still on the outside here. Side by side on the way towards turn 7 and 8 is pretty risky. They both make it through though as they're trying to stay on the dry portion as much as they can. Cheney's stuck up on the inside, that's where the wet part is, and he can't stay through. So Cole Modric makes his way up into 9th place. And that was a good pass in the end for the best placed McLaren in the field.
Yeah, Mike Brady's been off. He's jumped back to the pit lane as well. So not a great start for some of these guys. Eric Gaines there, and Brian LaPlatte.
Oh dear. Oh, the leader in AM. Can he get back on again without losing the lead? I think the answer to that's going to be no. There's Cody Bond, and there he goes through into the lead. The new AM leader, Cody Bond, in 16th place, ahead of Brian LaPlatte. We'll get a look back at that in a few moments' time, but looked very awkward. It was a Pro-Am versus an AM by the looks of things into the final corners.
Yeah, I think you just come sort of washed out on him on that one. He's alongside, he's just coming, he's coming, still coming, and then they ended up just getting velcroed together. But there's been a lot of people off here. This first half is a little bit dramatic. Scott Carlson is now just crashed as well. He's off the circuit on lap number 4. So we're a deteriorating field at this moment in time. Quinton Price is in that McLaren. He's got Jeff Shrewsbury in front of him. Marshall Crocker Jr. has just had a moment and he's lost some places. Ryan Henderson again. That we'll try not compound too many people's miseries here, but they are having a little bit of a trip through the grass. Ryan Henderson in the pits, Mike Brady in the pits, Pernell Hanlett is out, Stuart Gibbons didn't take the start, and Rick Modric all the way down 20 places down here in 39th. So a bit dramatic moments going on at this moment in time.
Plenty of them, yeah. It'll be interesting to see what happened to Crocker Jr. there. I think he spun on the way towards Siberia, but he didn't seem to go off circuit, at least as per our timing screen, didn't show that he was off circuit. I think he just spun, and that's a pretty big one, I'm afraid. He's down to 10th place now, qualified 6th, but he did make his way up into the top 5, and he was consolidating that place, but it all unravelled here in towards Siberia. Just turned, he doesn't even really get on, oh, he did go off the road, the time screen just was lying to me, that's good. But anyway, he just didn't seem to get into the rain, really. Or the wet part, I should say, on the outside. He didn't really get on the curb, didn't get in the grass, just seemed to just spin, really.
Yeah, it's almost like he carried too much speed and then hit the brake. And he carried too much speed, he broke too hard, and the problem is when he broke too hard, he ended up coming back round. So, you know, that's going to be an issue for him, as we see Barry Acker there with Cole Modric and Jeremy Cheney now. Barry in the middle of these two pros. He's the filling in the pro sandwich as our very own Mr. Zach Sweeney likes to say, on that one, and it's going to be interesting to see how he gets on. Josh Herring, obviously we saw what happened to him right at the beginning, down 23 places, recovering at the moment, sitting in 25th, and that's Jeff Sepulveda in front of him in the Mustang. Now, there has been reports from the Mustang camp on all of the Mustang drivers, and I do mean all of them that I've spoken to. They are not loving any form of wet circuit in the Mustang at all. The Mustang is not looking comfortable. Maybe at the hands of David Van Roy it might be comfortable, but everybody else is not loving the circuit, damp conditions or rain conditions in the Mustang.
I mean, last week was the first race in 2 so going into last week, I should say, just to rephrase it better, David Van Roy had won 2 in a row, and last week he wasn't even in the top 10 at Le Mans. That maybe shows you a lot about the Mustang in the wet weather. However, I don't want to make it sound like I'm going against the guys who are telling you that, because I do believe that maybe the Mustang isn't so strong, and that's a little bit about what I was hearing as well before, as it came out, as that was Jeremy Cheney looking up the inside of Barry Acker here, and Acker doesn't really want a part of this. Marshall Crocker Jr. tries to get through as well and use that to his advantage. We'll go on board with him. Going into the Spa 24 Hours, which was the first iRacing special event the GT3s could do, and the first one that the Mustang could do, because it had just been released in the summer, the Mustang, or everyone said that the Mustang was not going to be any good in the rain, and it might rain at Spa in the special event, and so they might not win. In the end, the Mustang was on the podium, I think, might have even won in top split, not entirely sure, but it was going up against the BMW, which maybe isn't so strong in the wet weather either. But just making the point that maybe the Mustang is able to work for some people, but it's pretty difficult to get your head around. And I would say that it's difficult in wet weather conditions to get your head around any new car, because you simply don't have the experience in it. And the drivers, for example, who are using, especially the Audi, which has been around for yonks, the Porsche, which has been around forever as well, these are difficult setups to go up against when these drivers have been driving that car for such a long time.
Yeah, it's like anything, isn't it? You know what I mean? It's the same as if you buy a real-life road car. You don't know how it's going to drive. You don't know if it's going to handle the same. You know, it's like anything. You've got to go out and test it. You've got to go out and put the practice in. And if you don't do that, well, you could be in trouble. But David Van Roy is doing all right. He's the highest Mustang at the moment in 5th. Marshall Crocker is down 3 places, sitting in 9th. Whether or not he's not going to stay there. Oh, there was contact with him and Jeremy Cheney on that one. You see the front right of Marshall Crocker Jr.'s car has got damage. Well, not got damage. He's got the paint of Jeremy Cheney on his front end there. Cheney needs to make a decision here. He's given Crocker Jr. a lot of uncertainties from the positioning of his car. He's not really covering him off, but Crocker Jr. does go through. But for there, Jeremy Cheney was not really covering him off, but he wasn't really taking a racing line. So for Marshall, we had to make a decision. Should I go for it? Does it result in contact? But either way, I've got to try and go through, because he's just very, very uncertain. Scott Carlson been off. Now, this is a battle in the Pro-Ams. Williams, Tidwell and Acker not very far apart at the moment. Purse is in there. Shrewsbury and Price are also coming up behind them. So that little front three battle of the Pro-Ams here, if they carry on as they are, they could be under attack from the 2 behind. So it's all about what they're going to do. And at the moment, Tidwell's kind of stuck there in the Lamborghini with Jonathan Williams closing all over him.
Yes, this AM battle is very interesting indeed for the podium places. The pros have really spread apart here in the opening 10 minutes of this race, but for the rest of them, it's very close indeed. Cody Bont still actually down to 2nd place. We've missed that. Brian LaPratt is leading now in AM, and Bont has just lost another place to Svan Sporak, and he's losing more places here. Wonder whether... No, he's just been pushed wide, excuse me. He's just lost a couple of places on the road. Meanwhile, Tidwell defends from Williams, and look at that. Williams very nearly got himself down the inside of the Lamborghini, but couldn't quite do it on the brakes at turn 4. He has to stay behind, and will do, in 3rd place in the Prime field. Then it's Jeff Shrewsbury who's 4th, followed by Quentin Price, who's 5th. He is closer to Bradley Tidwell than he was, but at the moment the driver 2nd place in the championship, losing points to the current leader, Bradley Tidwell.
Yeah, Scott Carlson's been off the side of the circuit. Justin Koch again as well, been off the side of the circuit. So unfortunately for that, it's all a lot of people going on and off. Sean Riley there with David Van Roy. Van Roy closing in behind the back of Riley. This is going to be interesting. This is almost a battle of the beasts. The beastly BMW and the even beastier Mustang. So I'm going to be interested to see here, because at the hands of these two drivers, man, could be a battle and a half.
Yeah, two cars which I wouldn't particularly fancy in the wet weather, actually, but I guess they've got no choice. You've got to pick something for a season, and you can't have it every time. It is the Porsche, I think, that's really strong in the wet weather, shown last week at Le Mans, but actually it's the drying conditions that may be helping the Audi here. Ryan Merriam is putting on a good show now as David Van Roy moves himself to the outside. That's quite late on the brakes from Riley. Can he stop it in time? Certainly can. It's to the inside, ready for turn 4, then into Siberia. Will Van Roy be able to go down the inside here? No. And these wet patches either side of the dry line are making it very difficult to overtake in certain places.
Yeah, it's very, very hard, isn't it? It's coming from almost like in IRL, where it's coming off the racing line onto the marbles. Unfortunately, though, we've still got the wet patches. So for Van Roy, he's really got to try and find where that dry line is. Could it be on the run out the final corner, down the start-finish line, into turn number 1? Maybe if he can get the inside, it'd be interesting to see on that one. But that's the problem. There's a lot of patches coming out of 11 and 12, so he's got to be a little bit mindful on what he's going to do on that start-finish straight. But you can see it there. Look, just on the outside, you see the spit of almost. What is it, like rooster tails coming out the back of the car, the water spray. So for Van Roy, he's going to have to try and find a way, and at the moment, Riley's making sure he doesn't.
I'd like to draw your attention to the track map right now, by the way. Bradley Lovings is still in second in the lead. However, look at the track map and look at how full the racetrack is already. We're only just under 15 minutes in, and lap traffic is playing a role here. Now, pretty much everyone who they'll be catching at the moment has been in pit lane, I should say, so far in the race, but not all of them. They may have had issues, they may have had, pit lane trips, whatever it is. They're sat in front of Bradley Lovings right now, and this marks the start of a very difficult, 40 minutes remaining still in this race. There's going to be lap traffic from here to the finish for the leaders because of the spread of field, because those at the front know how to deal with these conditions a bit better than those towards the back. It means that those at the back are losing, in some cases, 5 seconds a lap to these guys, and so there's going to be a lot of lap traffic throughout the race for the leaders to deal with, and not many finishing on the lead lap.
Yeah, that's the problem, isn't it? But then when things like this keep happening, as it has happened for Anthony Hutchinson, it's a hard one, isn't it? He's going to find himself in that situation where they will be lapped. It'll be interesting to see how far Lovins can go. And currently he's got Rick Modric, which is another pro, in front of him. Rick, unfortunately, has had a bit of a rough opening time here for the first 15 minutes. So Rick has now got to make a decision on what he's going to do, whether or not he's going to, let them pass us, try and stay with them, or try and stay in front of him. And at the moment, it doesn't look like Modric has got that opportunity, but he's kind of caught in a very, very horrible place, going down into Honda. So he's got to make a decision now. Does he go through Honda and stay in front, which he does do? That's going to put him in even a harder place running up through Siberia.
Certainly is. Where does he get out of the way? It can get very difficult around Phillip Island, and even more so when there's a narrow dry line that you're sort of straddling here, where you're trying to sort of tiptoe. It's like walking a tightrope, really. The wet patches on the outside of the dry line are not going to dry up very quickly because there's not cars running over them. The reason a dry line forms and it's so narrow is because there's cars driving there, and normal evaporation takes a bit longer. Downhill they go in towards turn 10, and not intentionally defending here, I don't think, Modric, but he just found himself on the inside, found himself going wide and narrow to get out of the way, as it's convenient for him to do so, but it has cost Lovings a little bit of time. The gap now below 7/10 of a second to Damien Hubertin, who will have that first lap incident, of course, hanging over his head for the remainder of this race.
Yeah, that was the problem there for Modric. He was kind of stuck between a rock and a hard place. There wasn't many easy places to overtake, and he got to where he thought was going to be the best place. For Lovins, I'm sure Lovins would have turned around and said, dude, come on, move a little bit earlier so I could go through, but he just couldn't. Don't know if he couldn't, wouldn't, shouldn't, whatever the situation may be for Mr. Rick Modric on that one. So we're just going to keep an eye and see how he gets on, but at the moment we have lapped everybody up to 37th, and Justin Koch is the next one, and he's had a horrible race so far as Justin been off the circuit a good few times. But this battle still in the Pro-Ams. There was somebody on the side there. I think that may have been Mike Brady sitting on the side of the road as in there. So Tidwell and Williams, and they've opened up a bit of a gap to Shrewsbury and Price behind.
You might be right about that. Down the inside for Quentin Price. Important passes to make here as far as points go, and Quentin Price has had a good race so far as overtakes are concerned as well. Didn't qualify amazingly by his standards, but he has raced very well. Up to 13th place now overall, and more importantly 4th in the Pro-Am standings. A couple of seconds up to the leaders in the class, and he'll have to close that in due course, but for now that's exactly where he needs to be. Meanwhile, Cole Modric looks to overtake Michael Dion here. This is a battle for 6th place overall. This guy's a long way behind the top 5 in Pro, who have really got away.
7 seconds to be actually precise, give or take, on that one. But you can see the McLaren does look quite stable. It is kind of almost turning out to be the all-rounder. It's not good at any one thing. It's just, you know, confident in all kind of parts of racing. Oh, Dion's off the side of the circuit now. He's going to get swept around the outside, is he? On that one, Cole Modric running side by side. Dion's trying to hold the grip on the inside line. This is going to give, if Modric can stay there, he should have the inside for the next right-hander. Is he going to be able to keep it alongside, or is Dion going to try and cover him off? Modric's deep on the rain, on the wet part, and there's still door banging going side by side.
A great battle between them, and eventually round the outside of turn 4 gives Dion the inside for Siberia, and he will stay ahead. But from the body language of Cole Modric here, it looks like he is quicker. He makes the run out of Siberia now in towards turn 7, then turn 8, which may not be quite flat out in the drying period here, but it may be, because it is just dry enough now. Looking to the inside again up at Lukey Heights through turn 9. And he died down the inside at 10. The BMW defender, it's like watching a replay of a lap ago. That's exactly what Dion did. He just brought the car over to the middle of the road just to put Cole Modric off, going for anything spectacular. You see Marshall Crocker Jr. also catching them both. He qualified ahead of them both as well, don't forget, and spun earlier on at Siberia. He's looking to come back through on both of them.
Yeah, is he going to be able to get... Oh, yay. That Mustang had a big old wiggle. That's put... Unfortunately, you can see there, Cole Modric out in the rain on the wet part of the circuit. Is he going to keep that inside line? He is. Marshall Crocker Jr. straight fruity around the outside. Well, Mustang driver kind of proving us wrong at this moment in time.
And further up the front, Bradley Lovings just lost the lead. I'm not sure if he went off the road, but he's lost a lot of time. 1.5 seconds now behind Damien Overton, who leads here at Phillip Island. It was in towards turn 2. Let's see what happened for Bradley Lovings. He enters a bit wide. Oh, he's just gone off the road. He's lucky that it was only that far off the road, actually. Normally, when you're off the road down there, you can end up in the gravel and far a long way off the circuit, but he's lost the lead. Overton now in front, ahead of Ryan Merriam, who is in third place, just watching on from third in the Audi.
Yeah, Merriam sitting back. You can see the BMW and the Mustang still going there as well. Sean Riley and Bevan Roy in behind. Barry Acker still leading the Pro-Ams. Tidwell not far back at all. Brian LaPratt is still leading the AMs, but he's in that same mix with Eric Gainzel, and we saw how that one panned out last time for these two, so I'm sure they're not going to want to do that once more as they come down into MG, the 90-degree hairpin almost, and then on that run out through turn 11, this is where it's all going to matter. Be a full flat run for LaPratt. Is he going to be able to get Gainzel? That's going to be the question. What about Purser? Purser's got Shrewsbury right in behind him again here, and this is a battle of the BMW and a Mustang once more. So these two manufacturers coming together on this racetrack a good couple of times here.
Yeah, they certainly have. I think Alan Purser is making his way through these guys so pretty quickly. It is him overtaking the others rather than the other way around. Transvorak has caught Jeff Shrewsbury in the meantime. See the two black and purple cars in the background, different machines, but different, same livery it looks like to me. Crocker Jr. and Dion also going side by side. Michael Dion is having some very long and drawn out battles here, and here's another outside line in towards Siberia, and that should give Crocker Jr. the position very wide for Dion, but when you are wide at Siberia, it's very difficult to get the traction in any case, never mind when it's been raining like this. So Marshall Crocker Jr. gets back up to 6th place. Now he's got a lot of catching to do if he wants to be back in the top 5.
There he has. He's literally 9 seconds back from David Van Rooij. Mike Elliott just lost that place to Clyde Comfort. Comfort takes a second, but however, then gets it all wrong. They're going to be running around the outside now. Is that Corvette going to be able to come down? He did come down. Elliott covered him there as well. Josh Heron now up into 19th, up 17 places, or down 17 places from where he was, but he's probably gained. Well, we went practically down to the back end of the field, didn't he, at one point? So he's gained quite a lot from his initial incident he has. So Josh Heron making his way up there. So great job from Josh in the mix. But Mike Elliott kind of settled down with Clyde Comfort. Cody Bronte is now in behind him. But the top 2, well, the top 3 are not very far apart here. And we've got back markers into the mix.
And we've got pit stops to come as well, don't forget. Just over half an hour remaining, and everyone will have to make a pit stop at some point throughout the race. So see how that one works out for everybody. As there are the gaps, just only 27 of them within a minute of Daniel Hilton at the moment. That's how spread out the field is, and it's going to continue to be very spread out. Fastest lap of the race so far is a 1:28.2. Some drivers further down the back have not been into the 1:30s yet, and then even in the 1:31s in the case of some further down the field. So that's how big the spread of field is. And that's how much time some of those towards the back are losing. It means that these guys have a lot of work to do here. Damien Huffington gets past one of the Ferraris very easily there on the way through on the inside. So they make their way over the line to the end of another lap already. Already 16 completed in this race. This is lap number 70 with Bradley Lovins closing in and looking to retake that lead. And it does seem that he is a bit quicker. It does seem that he deserved that pole position. He deserved his early lead. He wants it back as well from Darren Hoverton, who is leading at the moment.
And there's back markers. Cameron Risley in front of us. Joey Means in front of him. So these guys are going to have to come through. And as you say, we're only on lap 17. So they've got through the field quite quick. At the moment, we've lapped everybody up to 34th place, with Matthew Brennan just being lapped. And now we've got Cameron Risley in the process of being lapped here. So yeah, these guys moving up through traffic really, really quickly. And that's a mixture of the wet circuit. That's a mixture of all the carnage and chaos that kind of happened over the first couple of laps. And hopefully for that, the back markers are going to be respectful as Cameron Risley was there.
Hopefully. See, a bit easier when there are 3 leaders right up behind you. You think, well, I better get out of the way here. It is a battle for the lead, I know, especially because I know we're going to be on camera. That will put you off from getting in the way. But let's see if that maintains as we make our way through the traffic here. They've got a bit of space up to Joey Manson, who's the next in line, but he's almost down the back of the straight already as these guys get onto it. So it is quite a long gap. Damien Horvachin weaves around almost as if he's searching for the wet parts to cool his tyres off. I wouldn't imagine that's a problem here with the dry tyres that everyone is using at the moment, because things are so not wet anymore. They're so dried out compared to what we saw in especially the early part of practice a couple of hours ago. There are the leaders of each of the classes. Brian LaPrat has gone from losing the lead of his own doing in the final corner to leading again by nearly 20 seconds.
Yeah, I think there's been a couple of issues in and around. Sepulveda's just gone off. Mike Elliott's just gone off. Gary Spencer went off. Pernell Hanley's off. Coke's been off again and jumped back to the pits. So, yeah, I think LaPrat has just found himself in that situation, didn't he? He didn't exceptionally lose loads of time as Quentin Price and Dan Svorak jump into the pit lane. He didn't lose loads of time from his incident, but he managed to sort of hold on. He had such a gap over second place in the AMs that I don't believe, if my memory serves me correctly, that they actually got near them. So I think he managed to survive on that one. Hillerix just lost a place to JT Sawyer down in the AMs, and Sean Riley has still got Van Rooij tucked up right behind him.
He has. Correct if I'm wrong, I think Sean Riley used to drive the Porsche, didn't he? In this...
No.
No?
Nope. It's always been, I believe, he's always been in a BMW, I think, for Sean Riley.
Yeah. I must be confusing with someone else. But yeah, I was just going to make the point that in the last 2 weeks, if someone has changed from the Porsche to the BMW and it's rained 2 weeks in a row, you'd be regretting your decision a little bit, I would say. Porsche leading at the moment in not only 2 classes, but actually 1 and 2 overall in this race with Darren Hoverton and Bradley Lovings. Josh Herring is still quite a long way down, by the way, as a result of spinning out on the first corner of the race at the hands of Darren Hoverton, of course. He's championship leader, and he's going to be losing a lot of points today if things stay as they are. He's 17th right now, so he's recovering. I think he will get ahead of most of the drivers in other classes, but he's not going to overtake very many pros. And if Lovings just stays in second position here, he could halve Herring's lead at the end of the day.
Yeah, I think it's for Josh Herring, it's damage limitation. I think that's the thing now. He's got to try and just get as high as he physically can. Whether that's taking an early stop, whether or not that's going long and waiting for it to run out, whatever the occasion may be, he needs to do something, because he doesn't want to go into the pit lane and get caught up in all of that mess once more. So at the moment, for Herring, I would try and open up as big as a gap as I can to everybody behind, which could be running it out completely dry.
But maybe. It depends if he's got a load of traffic in front of him, though, he should come in early and just adapt for the situation that he's got around him. He's had to do a lot of catching recently. He's still not ahead of the AM leader, so a lot of work to do still for him. Nearly half an hour in, and I wonder when we are going to be seeing pit, as Joey Mains just gets out of the way in an unconventional way there. Wonder whether we are going to be seeing pit stops in the usual place here today because of the rain. Derek Gunzel's already in, but I feel like that's maybe a little bit on the early side. People might be waiting a little bit longer. When you're in damp conditions like this, of course, you're not spending quite as much time on throttle. You shouldn't be burning quite as much fuel.
Well, you would. The thing is, the likes of Gainzel, who's gone in, there's a couple of others, the Svorak and Quinton Price, they passed that worrying point of the race where they can go in and still make it to the end. So maybe they're just banking on the fact that if they go in early, they'll try and be able to get past everybody once the pit stops has kind of settled itself down a bit. But we're not going to really know that until about probably 10 minutes before the end of the race, to be blatantly honest. Phil is in YouTube chat there as well. Evening, James and Ewan. Not too sure if I've gone forward in time there, but I'm pretty sure we're still on afternoon, Phil.
I mean, yeah, that's true. But I was going to say, it depends where you are in the world. It might be evening someplace in the world, like Australia. But not here, so there you go. Over the line again with just nearly half an hour gone, 20 laps gone here as well. We should get a whopping 40 laps or so in here, maybe nearly that anyway. It's going to be, it's one of those short circuits where you go around plenty of times. Imola and Nürburgring the next couple of weeks, we'll be going around plenty of times as well in the Coffee Cup. Of course, we'll be live with that again, same time, same place. Although I won't be, unfortunately. James will be back though for that one in a week's time again for the final 2 rounds.
Oh, Svorak and Price.
Season. Oh, what's happened here? It's down into turn 4 by the looks of it. Svorak, the McLaren up ahead. He's been dived and oh dear.
Oh, and then just.
That's awkward.
Yeah, I'm not sure what happened there, but unfortunately, both of them off the side of the circuit. That could have put Quinton Price's and Dan Svorak's early pit stop strategy in great jeopardy. However, up front, Lovins is tucked up behind, and guess who they're coming back on now? Svorak and Price. So they've got to make a decision on the 2 cars battling in front, who are, mind you, currently running side by side.
That's not ideal. And through goes Svorak there on Price, who, well, either of them could have damage. And Hoverton and Merriam decide they don't want to deal with it. They don't want to deal with it, and Lovings is going to have to. So his 2 rivals have come in. Riley's in as well. They might actually be reaching somewhat the limit of their fuel here, but these 2 don't want to give the position up to each other. They don't want to give position up to Lovings here. They're not slow drivers by any means, but they will be slower than Hoverton and Merriam on their outlaps. So Lovings needs to get through on these guys as quickly as possible, but they're not going to make it easy for him.
He's going to clear 1. That's Quinton Price done. Dan Svorak is being flashed. Try and get him out the way as well. Give him the inside line. He does. Svorak makes it through. I'm kind of on agreement with Horvath, Merriam, Riley, Acker, Williams, Purser. might have been a good idea to go in. At the moment, Josh Herron is past all of them and is now just about touching the top 10, but of course he still hasn't pitted. I don't know if Lovins has just made a mistake there, to be blatantly honest. He did clear them without minimal time loss, so we might have to see how he can get on here, because let's face it, if he's got to do it, everybody else in behind him's got to do it as well.
Brandon's about to go 2 laps down here, by the way, in the Ferrari, so this is, oh, that's awkward for Lovins as well. He would have hoped to do that into turn 10. He's not done it. The Ferrari's sitting right on the apex. If he wants to come into pit lane, then he's going to struggle to do it this time, unless he can tuck back in here on the left-hand side, and oh no, he doesn't. He goes through the final corner normally, so past another lap car, and I think at this point he's sort of made his bed. He's got to try and make use of it. He's got lower fuel, let's not forget, than those guys who have already stopped. So yes, Merriam and where's Horberton? He's way down. Merriam's got out way ahead of Horberton here. Let's have a look at some pit stop times here. 20 seconds for Ryan Merriam, 1 minute for Horberton. He must have been speeding.
Yep. The only reason you would end up with longer than 40 seconds there. And you can see Ryan Merriam 46.6, Horvaton 126. And guess how many seconds that is? That's 40 seconds. That is speeding in the pit lane. Stop and go for Damien Horvaton. So has he just gone and jeopardised the rest of his race? Alan Purcell's very nice there, considering that's a battle for position. I wouldn't have been that nice, I've got to be honest. But I wouldn't have been. I would have been saying, well, you went and made a boo-boo, mate. I'm still battling you for a race, so make it on your own. But Alan Purcell did get out the way very, very nicely there. It's interesting the fact that Svorak is still in a battle with Price, and he's got Brian LaPratt, who's now 3rd in the AMS. Of course, Brian there has pitted. Curtis Matthews hasn't pitted, and as James Hillerick, he's just pitted. So there you go. Bill Backer Karma, he says in YouTube chat. Bill, keep it nice. You didn't exactly have a great first season when we were watching you, Mr. Man. So come on, play nice. Bradley Lovins is in the pits. David Van Roy, I'm expected to run in as well. He is. Marshall Crocker Jr. should be going in. Modric, Cheney, Tidwell, Shrewsbury. And it might leave Ryan Merriam in a great position, but it depends on how quick he can get round the last quarter of this circuit.
Yeah, I think he could be leading, but let's wait and see. Bradley Lovins makes his way into the pit lane now. He's now stopped. He's been stopped for 10 seconds. 20 seconds was the stop time for Merriam, but it was one of the longer ones. In fact, the longest of the top 5 who have already pitted. 19 seconds for Loving, so there's already a 1.5 seconds saved there. And of course, he may have gone quicker on that second in lap, as opposed to the first one where he did get slowed up by traffic. There's Ryan Merriam. He is going to be closer into Lovings by the looks of things here, and he is. However, it's not quite the lead. It's Bradley Lovings who will lead again, ahead of Damien Horberton, who speeds in the pit lane. However, Bradley Lovings has got a lot of traffic up ahead of him. I just saw when he came out there, loads of people ahead of him, and none of them for position. This is way down the field for 30th place. The battle for 28th overall is going on right in front of Bradley Lovings.
Yeah, Gary Spencer, Mike Elliott, Heath Ollinger, James Hillerick. They're all going to need to part like Moses and the Red Sea, I'm afraid, on that one. He clears the McLaren.
Oh no! Spencer's gone. The championship leader in AM was in a difficult situation already, but I'm afraid he's been made more difficult by a spin at Siberia as he gets out the way of the overall leaders. Here comes Lovings in towards Lukey Heights. This is going to be so tricky because it's all well and good that they need to get out of the way, and that may be true, but they're in their own battle here, and it's going to be very difficult for Lovings to get through on them all at once.
Yeah, it is here, but he's got Mike Elliott in the Corvette. He's going to have to try and do something. I don't know what Mike wants to do either. He's pulled to the inside. Then we've got Heath Bollinger in that Clemson livery. Next up with Bradley Lovins. Is he going to let him through before he gets down into turn 1? You can see Lovins tucked in right behind it. The scoreboard's not even sure what's going on. Lovins takes to the left-hand side. The Audi's got to go as well. The Audi's got to go. Ryan Merriam does go through. He follows Lovins, but I can tell you what, there was some urgency in Ryan Merriam there to go left, then to go right and treat him like a mobile chicane.
And he certainly did. He got past 3 of them on the way towards turn 1, but Lovings has got through that traffic very efficiently indeed. Past another Porsche he goes in towards turn 4, so he is looking good now in the lead of the race ahead of Ryan Merriam. Damien Hoverton, by the way, as it all shakes out, is going to be 13th by the looks of things here. He gets past David Van Roy, though he will be 12th. What's happened to David Van Roy, who's having a really long stop here? Is he having a second stop? He is. David Van Roy's having a second stop in the Mustang. That's why he's dropped way outside the top 10.
Yeah, and I can't find a reason as to why David Van Roy has had that moment. We'll see if I can find something, but at the moment we're not getting nothing, no notifications to see that he's been off the side of the circuit or he's had any problems, or maybe he just didn't get the fuel put in. I don't really know what the answer would be, but it was 1 lap after he went in last time. So yeah, on for David Van Roy. Nick Marshall in the pits, Curtis Matthews and Rick Modric. If JT Sawyer does be able to get on his bike a little bit here, he might be able to get through all of them. But as you can see, Lovins is trying to concentrate and go past him. Ryan Merriam's tucked up right up his nose here as well for Bradley Lovins. So there you go, there's Merriam. Is he going to make the move on to into turn 1?
Around the outside for Lovings. Wow, I thought he would have to give that up because of the wet line on the outside there, but no. Bradley Lovings hangs on, just over a quarter of an hour to go in round 10. Ryan Merriam now starting to put on the pressure big time here. Didn't have a great time of things 1 week ago, Merriam, at Le Mans. He did finish, I believe, 4th in the end. He was on the podium the week before. The last time he won, though, was in the previous season. It was weeks ago. Round number 6 at Misano in the end of August. It's been a little while for Ryan Merriam to be on the top step of the podium, even though he has managed it plenty of times before in this championship. I believe he's managed it 3 times so far. Maybe twice this season in these 10 rounds. It will be 10 after this one. He's looking for his 3rd this time round in the slipstream through turn 7 and 8. Surely going to be between these two. Sean Riley's over 3 seconds behind, but just doesn't seem quite quick enough to keep up with these guys or get closer. Although he does have the fastest lap of the race at 1:17, not 17, blimey, 27.9.
Yeah, he has at the moment, but Merriam and Lovings are very, very close. Williams and Acker, this is the lead for the Pro-Ams. They're very, very close as well. And it's going to be, what is that BMW going to be able to do over the Porsche? We'll keep an eye on this gap for a little bit of a moment, as the top lead 2 have gone out by half a second. But you can see Van Roy in front of us is going to be lapped by Barry Acker in the Pro-Ams.
Wow, that's a big surprise indeed at the start of the day. Meanwhile, in 3rd place in the Pro-Ams, Bradley Tidwell is in 10th position overall. If things stay as they are right now, he would double his championship lead over Quentin Price by 8 points. Of course, last week he saw it halved. Didn't see it halved, so it decreased by a 3rd. So it's all very round percentages here. That's why I'm using them. Decreased by 4 points 1 week ago. It's going to go up by 8 as things stand right now. But Tidwell has got less scope to make up positions later on, I think, than Quentin Price. So let's see if indeed that comes true. JT Sawyer and Gary Spencer are, of course, the top 2 in the AM standings. And I'll get back to that in a moment, because someone else in AM, Cameron Risley, looks like he's been off towards turn number 1. He's in the wet patch on the way down towards turn 1. Oh, he's been spun around.
That was Curtis Matthews.
He's going to rejoin. Well, where do you go from here?
He's got to go all the way back.
Right.
But he ended up jumping back to the pits after that. That was with Curtis Matthews. They had that little bit of a ding-dong. But Merriam is, well, there. You can see how close he is at this moment in time. And that is Brian Dudkowski in the Porsche in front of him.
This is very, very close indeed. Lovings is going to be benefiting from this slipstream on the way towards turn 1 of a fellow Porsche. Now he ducks out as the Porsche lifts off and lets these through on the inside through turn 1. They're not going to go side by side. That'd be a bad idea. But Merriam was just forced to give up his chance on that occasion. By the way, I was just going to say the AM Championship lead will go down to 1 point for Gary Spencer if things stay as they are. They're still involved in that huge fight for 25th, by the way, or 24th indeed, as Brian Hosking goes off the road and lets them all through. This is just behind these guys in the overall lead of the race. They're a lap down now, down in 24th position, but they are battling over important positions. Here's Gary Spencer. If he loses one more place, he'll be tied with JT Sawyer on points. Ooh. At the end of the day, wow, that was close. He very nearly hit Heath Hollinger, I think, the inside there.
Dudkowski is not having a good one for Brian Dudkowski. That was another lot of cars that went past him there. I'm surprised he let them through. Oh no, that's Dudkowski there. Who is the car in front then? In the 77. Oh, that's Brett Brazel. Yeah, Basil or Basil, whichever way we've probably got it wrong. It doesn't matter which way we go. But if you can let us know, Brett, if you watch this back, which way it is, that would be absolutely amazing. Barry Acker, however, is still going, having a little ding-dong with Jonathan Williams, and fortunately for Ben Roy, he has been lapped by these two Williams. Whoa,
whoa, whoa. Barry Acker there around the outside and very nearly into danger with Williams there, who was just behind him. Trenton Kramer in the YouTube chat asking when the torrential downpour is going to start. Well, we didn't know there was one coming. We think it's already been. It started really raining in practice earlier on, and it's not really dried up fully since. And stopped raining, I think, with about 15 to 30 minutes remaining in the practice session. But that practice session finished over an hour ago now, and the session state has carried over. So we've seen the last 15 minutes of practice, the 15 minutes of qualifying, and 15 minutes of warm-up, and maybe even more than that, with no rain, but instead the car's going round and drying the circuit out. So effectively, this is a dry circuit, other than on the sides of the dry line, of course, where things get very sketchy indeed. Here goes Merriam on one of those wet parts of the circuit. Makes it very difficult indeed to go around the outside of Bradley Lovings for the lead.
Yeah, that was down in up through Lukey Heights. Now they're coming out the other side. This is a run from 11 to 12. Merriam is very, very close. That gap come down to less than 2 tenths. You know, for that moment in time. Henderson's had another crash. Risley's been out, come back out, and has gone off the side of the circuit again. So has Carlson. So the guys further down are having a little bit of a horrible time there. Tarina in YouTube chat, sad moment for Risley. So yeah, unfortunately for him. But that gap's now gone and spread out. The interesting thing here, Michael Dione was battling with David Van Roy. He is still battling with David Van Roy, but Van Roy's a lap down. All right, so the car in behind the Green Mustang is a lap down on these guys. However, Dione is trying to get past Williams and Acker, who are trying to fight out for the lead in the Pro-Am. So this is just more of a little Chinese fireworks display, waiting for the banger to go off at the end.
It may well do. Let's see if Dion could present an opportunity maybe for Jonathan Williams as well, because I reckon Dion's quicker than both of these two. Ben Roy as well. 2 pro drivers, of course, as you explained, on different laps. However, they could still provide a chance for Williams. Lapping drivers could do as well. That was Brian Hoskins, was it, being overtaken there on the way down? No, it wasn't. Excuse me,
Joey
Mains.
Yeah.
Excuse me. Down the way towards turn 3 and 4. Mains goes very wide. All of these guys are a lap ahead of him, other than David Van Roy, who I don't think he'll have much hope of keeping behind. Van Roy makes his way through after, of course, making 2 stops today, as we've already explained. His second stop was over a minute long.
Yeah, I'm not entirely sure why. So we'll try and I'll do some research at the end and see if I can get something while you're having a chat with some of these drivers to find out what actually happened there and why we had a second stop out of David Van Roy. But this Williams-Acker battle settled down just a little bit. Modric and Jeremy Chaney are back together again, and say that they have been fighting each other throughout this race here. And then we've got the Merriam Lovins further up in front of them currently. So lots of groups together. We've got the front 2, then we've got 5th and 6th, and then we've got the Acker Williams Dione situation is what we're on now. So we'll see how far Michael Dione can get here.
A very interesting race as things stand. Just less than 10 minutes to go, and plenty of battles still out and around the circuit. Michael Dione into turn number 1, flies through on the inside, has a look at this fellow BMW, as off goes Sean Riley. Oh dear, Sean Riley's off at turn 2, I think. There he is on the left-hand side, and he goes back to pit lane. He must have hit something. He's gone through normally, entered normally. It's up on the curve on the left-hand side. That's okay. Oh no, someone's rejoined straight into his path. And imagine his front right corner is broken as a result. What a shame.
Ryan Henderson. Oh,
Ryan
dude,
Henderson
you are
spins.
not going to be flavour of the month.
Oh, he's
You are
rejoining, and straight into someone.
Bro, you are... Yeah, you're not going to be getting a Christmas card. Let's just put it that way.
From Sean Riley, that's for sure.
Nope.
That's a real shame. Was running third, of course. Sean Riley had the fastest lap of the race. I believe he still does. Yeah, he does. But unfortunately, down pit lane and out of the race now as we rejoin the battle for sixth position, I should say. Barry Acker has been leading the entire race in Prime now, but he's still under pressure from Jonathan Williams in position. Williams is 6th place in the standings. Barry Acker up in 4th. They're all, though, nearly 100 points behind Bradley Tidwell and Quentin Price, who are the real championship leaders here, still separated by 8 positions in this race.
Yeah, we've got Ben Groves in YouTube chat. Dang, he's just put after the Riley incident. There, Mike Brady, a little bit of an update on him. iRacing crashed on him, so unfortunately for Mike Brady, that was what his problem was. But yeah, Williams and Acker still having a go, and I'm not entirely sure what Dion is going to do here. Does he get involved? Does he not? Josh Heron is just passing the Jeff Shrewsbury, so Heron's battled his way back into 11th, which you've got to admit, great recovery considering he was down at the back end, but Shrewsbury's not letting him have it all his own way, and that Mustang is going to have some gruff over that Porsche, but the Porsche should have the inside line. Shrewsbury's going to give it to him. He does. Job done there for Josh Heron. He's now got Horvath 3.13 seconds up the road, but Modric is fighting with the back marker and has got Cheney in the back of him as well.
Oh, but he's off. Jenny, oh no, one of the lap cars off.
Basil.
The lap car is off the road down in towards turn 10. Let these guys through, maybe a bit too courteous on the inside there. Through the final corner for Cole Modric then. Oh, there's smoke in front and there's a car backwards. Oh. Goodness me, through the final corner. The Porsche facing backwards right on the curb there. And it looks like it's Heath Ollinger who was running up towards the front in Am.
That's Crocker Jr.
Oh, he spun on his own. He didn't get hit there, but he spun on his own. Oh, it's a very, very lucky escape for some. And he is able to get off the track and into safety just in time. Goodness me, that was a big moment for Heath Ollinger.
It was there, but I'm a little bit worried about why Hillerick, Dudkowski and Ollinger have all been off the circuit within literally a split second of each other. So this is Hillerick's... Oh, you're running wide, sir. That'd be why you've done that. But what about Dudkowski? He, of course, again... Oh, he's coming into turn 2. He's not going to stop it, is he? Nope. Nope. And definitely no for them guys. But he followed to jump back to the pit lane directly after that incident. Carlson's been off. I'm not going to show it. Carlson's had one of the worst evenings I've ever seen, or worst races. And Jonathan Williams has unfortunately been off the circuit. He was fighting Barry Acker. I just want to see if Cheney can get through, and he can over Cole Modric.
Nicely done down the inside at turn 10. He looked like he was going to go a bit deep into the corner there, but actually he's got it stopped. Oh, and the McLaren trying to go around the outside goes off. Barry Acker will get through as a result, and looks like Williams has got caught up in an incident maybe with Michael Dion, because he's miles behind Barry Acker now. Let's have a look at what happens. Jonathan Williams was right behind Acker here, is it?
Oh, he's dived, Basil.
Oh, he dives. Oh, and he spins around a Porsche. What's that all about?
Brett Basil.
Okay.
The back marker, who's just, well, I don't know. I don't know if there's going to be a racecraft conversation in there for Brett. I'm not entirely sure what's going to happen on that one. Personally, he needed to move over. But look, you know, don't want to get myself in trouble.
Into 9-4.
No, James,
Ryan
you don't
Merritt.
want to get yourself in trouble this time.
Well, it's a difficult
He should have moved out of the way. All right, there you go. That's the way to look at it. Is he was in the way.
Well, I think quite apart from the laps car business, which is obviously going on there, but quite apart from that, he actually didn't give space to Williams on the inside there.
No.
So that's the not ideal part of it in the first place. This is the leading battle with 3 laps to go now, by the way. 4 minutes, but 3 laps to go for Bradley Lovings and Ryan Merriam. It looks like Bradley Lovings is in control at the moment, but he's still got some time remaining. At the moment, he's 10 positions ahead of Josh Heron, and so he would halve that championship lead of Josh Heron if things stay as they are.
Yeah, it will, but it's... Herring is not done badly. And he's getting the gap down to Horvaten, down to 2.26 seconds. However, there is a reason for Horvaten, and that is that lot in front of him. There's a lot of cars in front. These backmarkers are playing a part. That's Sepulveda and Williams. Basil's jumped to the pits for Brett. He is in pit lane, but Lovins and Merriam, well, are that close. And I think it's going to be here for the last 3 minutes where we see most of the action.
So if there is a pass, it might well be here for the final moments of this race. Through the final corners they come now. There's a battle for 23rd, by the way, between the championship leaders in AM. I know they're not in high positions at all. It's for 5th place in AM, I think. But Gary Spencer is the leader, of course, by 4 points ahead of JT Sawyer, who's having to defend from him here. And this is on the way through turn 9. They're a lap down on the leaders. But they're not far behind them on the road as things stand. You can see the Corvette in the rear view camera of the McLaren here. Sawyer trying to maintain the position so he can have a 1 point gain at the end of the day.
No, it's JT for JT Sawyer, though. Can he hold on from Gary Spencer? He's got to try and do something because we're not going to get a lot of time left. They're going to probably have about one more. Where is the leader? The leader's on, just gone through turn 3. So... 2 more, you reckon?
2 more for these two, but also 2 more for the leaders. So, big white flag at the line for the leaders because we're already getting down towards the lap time remaining in the race, even as they come out of Siberia. But Bradley Lovings again looks to be in control. Although he did through the first half of the last lap as well, and then he lost about half his lead. So that can happen again very easily. On board we go with the Audi. It's 3/4 of a second. He needs to be a lot closer than this if he wants to make something work.
Yeah, this has gone from bad for worse for this BMW. Oh, we're seeing it. No, it's just going round. Look at that. One of the most awkward, annoying spins you could ever have. It's so slow, and you just cannot do anything about it. That's really annoying for Sean Riley, and we saw why he ended up there. And I can tell you what, that... Mr. Ryan Henderson, yeah, you need to send a DM after this, dear sir, to say I am apologising for the fact that I drove into you.
Very possibly. Final lap of the race here at Phillip Island. A second race in Australia in this 6-race period. Of course, we started this part of the season at Bathurst in the middle of September. Well, nearly a month later, we're here at Phillip Island. It's been a good race. Damp conditions at the beginning. Almost bone dry at the end, apart from on the curbs and stuff. It's been a very interesting race indeed, and it's going to be another finish to remember. We saw one at Le Mans a week ago. Bradley Lovings came out on top in that one, ahead of the likes of Demi Horvaten, who was giving him a hard time. This time round, it's Ryan Merriam who is applying the pressure. He was just disconnected from that leading battle 1 week ago. This time he's part of it, but it looks like he's going to come up on the losing side again. Bradley Lovings knows how to execute these final laps to perfection. Over the hill at turn 9 they go. Merriam with his last chance on the brakes, passing him by. The gap nearly a second. The Porsche dominating in the wet weather again. It's so strong in these conditions. Bradley Lovings seems to enjoy them too. He comes through the final corner now to win round 10 of the OGRL Coffee Cup here at Phillip Island. It's Bradley Lovings who wins for the 2nd week in a row and takes his 2nd win of the season as well. Just half a second ahead of Ryan Merriam at the end. Barry Acker's been overtaken, by the way, by Michael Dion in the last lap here, but it looks like he's still going to take AM victory. Looks like he's just trying to avoid a crash more than anything else, to be honest with you, as he makes his way through the final corners. He's got David Van Rooij right behind him, who looks like he's going to finish 24th, recovering after making 2 pit stops today. But in Pro-Am, it's Barry Acker, 4th place in the championship coming into today, who's going to take the victory here at Phillip Island after coming 2nd in the rain at Le Mans 1 week ago. And in AM, Brian Laprat, despite an incident through the final corner very early on in the race, has still recovered to complete more laps in AM than anybody else. 2nd place Clyde Cumfer has already come over the line. Laprat just trying to avoid a crash here, to be honest. It's something easier said than done through these final corners. He's going to finish 15th overall in a great finish, and maybe 14th, but Shrewsbury weaves around to try and stop him. He is going to finish 15th, but more importantly, the AM winner, Brian Laprat, here at Phillip Island.
Yeah, you want to be careful. Whoever just kind of stopped after the line there, I'm not sure who that was, but somebody literally just pulled over straight left after the line. Be careful. There was a lot of cars coming through here. Shrewsbury's off the circuit. I'm wondering if he's pushing along there. I believe that's pretty much everybody finished. There's a couple that still haven't, but yeah, very, very interesting race. Lots of things we could unpack. There's a lot of people off the circuit. There's a lot of people making errors. JT Sawyer towards the end here for JT.
This cost him, by the way, 4 points in the championship to Gary Spencer, who I believe overtook him there. That's the white Corvette. Spencer who just overtaken him and trying to regain the place. Sawyer spun and lost 3 positions and so loses 4 points instead of gaining 1, as we saw earlier on.
Yeah, unfortunately for JT, did not go well. But let's bring you up the results here, and they'll be on your screen very, very shortly.
There we go. Half a second for Bradley Lovings and Brian Merriam, and nearly half a minute back. Marshall Crocker Jr. still manages to recover a podium finish. Cole Modric and Michael Dion round out the Pro top 6, with Pro-Am winner, I should say, Barry Acker in 7th place. Bradley Tidwell extends his championship lead in Pro-Am over Quentin Price by 9 points with an 8th place finish. Jonathan Williams and Damien Huffington round out the top 10. Joshua Herring nearly caught and passed the driver who had him off the road at turn 1, finishing in 11th place. Alan Purser finishes 12th, ahead of Eric Ganzel and Jeff Shrewsbury, who nearly got beaten to the line by Am winner Brian LaPratte. Dan Sporek and Quentin Price are the final drivers to finish on the lead lap. Clyde Comfer in 18th was off the lead lap, 1 down in the end for him. 19th was Brian Dukowski, who had a bit of a nightmare race. The top 20 rounded out by James Herrick. Nick Marshall, who tied most positions gained in this race with 16, finished 21st, ahead of Gary Spencer, who extends his AM Championship lead. David Van Roy loses a load of positions with 2 pit stops today. Brian Hoskins also gained 16th to finish 24th. Cody Bont finishes 25th after leading in AM for some time. JT Sawyer lost points in the Pro-Am Championship battle. He's now 8 behind his main rival, Gary Spencer. Joey Mains, Rick Modric, Mike Elliott and Curtis Matthews round out the top 30. 31st was Perno Hanno. He's 2 laps down, along with Heath Ollinger, who lost points in AM as well. Matthew Brennan, Sean Riley, who had that late crash, Jeff Sepulveda and Scott Carlton. Brett Pezzo and Karen Risley were 4 laps down. Ryan Henderson came into the pit lane after that crash with Riley to finish 14 down. Justin Cook was 25 down, Mike Brady 28 down, Anthony Hutchinson 29 down, with non-starter of Stuart Gibbons in the Lamborghini. So with that, let's bring in Bradley Lovings for a bit of a chat after that race victory. Congratulations, Bradley, and thanks for joining us as well. How were those final few laps holding off Ryan in the damp conditions at Phillip Island?
Man, it was intense. The lap cars definitely they either helped you or hurt you a lot. I tried to pull a stupid move and send it on the inside of 2 lap cars and hit, kind of got into one a little bit. I thought Ryan was going to get me there, but I was able to pull away.
How were the conditions? Because to us, they look almost dry normal by the end of the race, but how did they evolve through the start of qualifying to the very end of the race, and just how much was the rain a factor in your mind throughout the race? Was it sort of pushed to the side once the real water had been cleared away?
Oh, yeah, I was on dry tires ever since 30 minutes into practice, so once a dry line started forming in practice, by the time we got to qualifying the race, in qualifying, probably 75% of the track was dry. Race, I couldn't tell the difference between a dry track and a wet track at all. You could take the curbs, acted like a dry track to me. The humidity kind of just slowed the car down a little bit, but good laps. I don't know what happened to Damien, though. I was going for that overcut like I did last week on him, and I don't know if he just never made it out of the pits. But I was looking forward to a good fight with him. But yeah, 2 wins back to back. I couldn't be more thrilled myself.
Yeah, I'm going to just cut in a minute here as well. I'd like to point out, Brad, that Ewan wrote you off for pole position in qualifying. Just going to put that in there as well. And also a bit of update on Damien. He got a pit, speed in the pit lane penalty.
Oh, yeah. I don't know where that qualifying lap came from, man. I was just cruising. I said, oh, shoot, I'm P2. So I pushed a lot on that last lap. And yeah, just thankful I got out ahead and never really, Damien got past me once, you know, and other than that, I was kind of just in front, didn't have to worry about nothing. It's kind of hard track to pass. So I think as long as you stay in front of someone around here, it's kind of easy.
Congratulations on getting that double win here tonight, Brad, and or today, I should say, in the day. Congratulations on that, and thanks for coming to chat to us as well.
Yes, you guys are awesome. Porsche, like I said, man, she treats you right. I'll see y'all later.
Thanks very much. Bradley Loving's there, the winner tonight. Today, gosh, I've got to get out of that here at Phillip Island. Ryan Merriam is also ready to. I can't. My screen's not big enough to drag him. Sorry, James. You'll have to. There we go.
I'll get it. Oh, you got it. Got it. Cool.
Right. Welcome, Ryan. Good to have you with us. And congratulations on finishing second. What was it like to being stuck behind Brad like that through the final part of the race? Were there any points where you thought maybe I can overtake here, maybe I could overtake there, or were you pretty resigned to the fact you were going to finish second in the race?
Hey guys. Yeah, I mean that was a lot of fun, honestly. I'm actually beat. I'm sweating really bad, but no, congrats to Brad. I stayed with him for a while there, and you know, I feel like I had some chances. I think I was quicker through sector 2, and I just could not figure out, you know, to get that exit like he had on into the front stretch there on sector 3. So he'd pull away from me there a lot, and then man, we had some interesting interactions with some lap cars. Man, I don't know how any of us didn't hit anything. It's gonna be fun to watch, but yeah, eventually there I kind of knew I was in for P2 unless he made a big mistake. But it was a lot of fun.
How much of that sort of exit do you think that came down to the Porsche versus the Audi? We always associate the Porsche with good wet weather racing, especially good traction, but the engine's not over the rear tyres anymore, so it might not be down to that. What did you make of the two cars going up against each other? What were the strengths and weaknesses?
Yeah, man. I mean, I said earlier in the week, this really feels like a Porsche track, and it's fair enough. You know, right in the beginning in qualifying, you saw the Porsche just kind of dominated it. So I tried to hang with them though, and honestly, I haven't really found a bad track for the Audi. It's kind of been really kind of consistent along everything so far, and but yeah, I just could not do what they were doing out of that exit for you know, out of that front stretch. So I tried a lot of different things, and it, you know, at the end the tires were just gone. So it was just kind of like survive at that point.
Just before we let you go, is there anyone you'd like to give a shout out to?
Yeah, man. Bradley again. Congrats on back-to-back wins. You know, I wish I could have given him a little more fight. I honestly had no idea where I could have passed him. If I got close enough, this track would have been hard. But yeah, Mom, Dad, and you know, Jeremy Cheney, my league mate here, who's my guy from hometown, and racing with me through this. So been a lot of fun. You guys as well. Thanks a lot for what you do, and we'll catch you next week.
We certainly will. Congratulations on second round, and thanks for chatting to us.
Thanks, guys. Take it easy.
Very much. Ryan Merriam there, finishing in second place today. Marshall Crocker Jr. is also there waiting for us, so we'll bring him in too. Welcome in, Marshall. Good to have you with us. And a nice flat back for yourself. You spun pretty early on at Siberia, dropped to 10th place, I believe it was, but you fought your way back to third. How was that race for you?
Oh, you could narrowly start much worse of a race than that. It was a rough start on cold tires. Same situation I had in my first race a couple weeks back, and I promised myself today I was going to work on the start, and then I knew I had the flat pace over the course of the whole run. Unfortunately, I put myself behind the 8 ball there early, but got more confidence. Found that taking no tires in the pit stop, just getting used to the set I had, staying on hot tires the entire time. It was nice out there on the wet track, so not a bad race. I'll definitely take some of the chaos in front of me, meaning it's a podium. I felt like that's about the pace I had in practice this week, but no, I didn't do myself any favors to do any better than third this week. Not super impressed with the way I drove.
How have you found the series as a whole? This will be a second point score now in the championship. How have you found the series?
I'm loving it. I'm not much. I don't come from a GT3 background traditionally. I'm more of a Formula guy. So getting used to the lower downforce, the dirty air constantly, the lap traffic is obviously the big thing. It's been a really fun adjustment period. I've been using this as inspiration to try more officials to try to just learn the discipline. And I'm actually kind of fallen in love with real world GT3 because of this series. So it's becoming something that I look forward to each week. Really just getting better. And I find more than just looking for the points championship, like trying to pursue self betterment every week is a really good inspiration to drive well. So I've been loving it. I love these races. Small track today made the lap traffic even more important. So I'm loving the series so far, and I can't wait to finally knock off a few races in a row. Should be back next week.
Hope to see you there. Is there anyone you'd like to give a shout out to before we let you go?
Yeah, I'd love to give a shout out to my dad, Marshall Crocker Sr. He was spotting for me tonight. My girlfriend Alyssa for tuning in, and you guys for the great broadcast product you put on. Part of the reason I joined the series in the first place was seeing the great work that goes out there every week, seeing the great content for all the different classes. So thank you very much for what you guys do. It's been a pleasure.
Thanks very much. Congratulations on third place today, Marshall, and thanks for coming to chat to us.
Thank you, sir.
Much Marcel Crocker Jr. there in third overall. Let's go down to Pro-Am now, where Barry Acker has taken the victory. Congratulations, Barry, on a Pro-Am victory here today. How were the conditions? How was the Porsche out here at Phillip Island today?
It was pretty good. Getting through lap traffic was a little difficult. Having, the wet on the outside in the beginning. It seemed to dry up a little bit as the race went on, but it was definitely a little sketchy getting through lap traffic. But all in all, it was a good race. Jonathan and I and Bradley Tidwell had some pretty good battles there early on, and then Jonathan and I had some towards the end. It was really fun.
It's the first time in a little while when you've gained points on both Bradley Tidwell and Quentin Price, who are ahead of you in the championship. Of course, you'll gain on Pernod Hanno as well, who finished quite a long way down today. So you'll overtake him now and get into third in the standings. How much of a factor in your mind are those standings as you're racing around? Do they really bother you? Are you still looking to finish at the top of the Pro-Am standings?
It does play a little bit into my mind. I try not to think about it. I think about it a lot when I'm practicing and things like that. Just trying to make sure that I'm consistent. The biggest thing in the last two races has been trying to avoid chaos on the track. Le Mans was definitely chaos. I led most of that race and then had some mistakes there towards the end and threw away a win there. But points definitely play a little bit into your mind, but I try not to think about it too much while I'm in the car. I just try to focus on what I'm doing.
Congratulations on getting the win here today in Pro-Am. Is there anyone you'd like to give a shout out to before we let you go?
Thank you. I appreciate it. First and foremost, got to thank my wife for allowing me to spend God only knows how many hours on the sim a week prepping for these races. I got to thank you guys for the amazing broadcast. All my family and friends love to watch it. And then Bradley and all the guys from OGRL for putting on a phenomenal league. This is probably some of the best racing I've ever had. I got to thank Josh Herron. He is the one that I practice with a lot. He's the one that got me into iRacing. Basically, I would not be here today if it wasn't for him. It was a good day.
Congratulations on the win again, and thanks for coming to chat to us as well.
Thanks, guys. I've been waiting for this for a long time.
Thanks very much. Barry Acker there, the winner in Pro-Am today. Now, unfortunately, Brian LaPratt was, I think he's trying to get his mic working or something, but he's been popping himself in and out of the broadcast booth, interview waiting room, and he's not there at the moment. So if he does come back, we'll interview him. But for now, let's go through some of the drivers who want to chat, but are not on the podium today. Finishing fourth place overall today was Jeremy Cheney, and he's now with us as well. Welcome in, Jeremy. Good to have you with us. Fourth place, 3 positions gained on the start. How pleased are you with that performance?
Very happy. Had a really good pit. Gained probably my 3 positions actually in the pit. So very happy with that one.
How was what was your expectation, I should say? Damp Phillip Island is not everyone's cup of tea by any means, and some people really struggled out there, but how were you viewing it?
It started off a little shaky, and as the stint went on, it got a lot better. Basically drove the tires off the car, had no tires left at the end, but hey, we kept it on track.
Is there anyone you'd like to give a shout out to before we let you go?
The boys that put on the league, you guys that do the shouts, and mom and dad. That's about it.
Thanks for coming to chat to us, Jeremy. Congratulations on fourth place, and hopefully we'll see you next week.
Have a great week.
Thanks very much, Jeremy Cheney there, fourth place overall. And down in 10th place was Damien Horvatin, who always comes to have a chat with us, so we will do so again. Welcome in, Damien. Good to have you with us. 10th place for yourself today. How are you feeling after that one overall? We'll get into the specific incidents themselves, but first of all, an overall feeling after that race?
Absolutely exhausted and a bit, how do you say it? That doesn't feel as good as it should have felt. It was difficult both physically and mentally. I, in the end, fought it back from a penalty, so I'll take it.
Let's chat about the lap 1 incident. You were on the inside of Josh Herron on the way towards turn 1. There was contact. He ended up in the gravel. Just what was your view of that incident on the start?
Well, of course, on the start, there was a lot of spray. And when there is spray, you're not really sure where the grip is. I was kind of there. But coming into the apex, I tried to pull out. He, of course, came down because he expected the corner to be fully his, and we came together. I mean, I'm not gonna point the finger at him. I'm not gonna point the finger at myself. I let the stewards decide on that one. It's just, from my POV, it's just very unfortunate, and I think both of us could have done more to avoid it.
And what about the pit lane infringement itself? We believed it was speeding in the pit lane. What actually happened?
It was speeding in the pit lane. I had a really, really quick entry, managed to stop it in time, but there is a kind of a glitch where you shift up and down. It gives you a bit more speed, and with the pressure of Marian behind, I kind of overdid it for just above the threshold, and I got a 40-second for it.
Well, unfortunate for you, but still top 10 at least. Is there anyone you'd like to give a shout out to before we let you
go? Same as last week. You two, the guys that put this together, but not the French weather this time. This time Australian weather.
Absolutely, yeah. Congratulations on another top 10 in a week, and thanks very much for coming. Oh dear me! Thanks very much for coming to chat to us.
Thank you to you too, also.
Thanks very much, Darren Hubbardin there in 10th place overall. Well, that's just about going to do it for us here this evening, I think, or this afternoon, I should say, and keep saying. Phillip Island, it's delivered a decent race for us there. Sean Riley just coming into YouTube chat, by the way, to say that he really thought he had a shot at first or second there, giving them a hard time. Wasn't quite able to do that. I think that's a real shame from out of the top three. He was the one who should have been finishing on the podium, with all respect to Marshall Crocker, of course, who gained positions through incidents and, of course, of his own making as well. And congratulations to him. But, you know, that should have been Sean Riley's position. He believes he could have challenged the top two. And what a finish that would have been with the three of them out front.
Yeah, it would have been. It's hard because you know how upset Sean actually is, right? Because obviously when a rejoining car comes in, doesn't pay an ounce of attention and just takes you out, you sit in that car and your words are no, 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 and bang. And I can guarantee, although he's being calm about it, that man is brewing inside with that incident. There's nothing worse. There is nothing worse than being taken out by somebody rejoining the circuit who just didn't pay attention.
Absolutely. Let's hope he can bounce back again next week. We'll be back next week, of course. Or James will. We'll be back same time, same place next week. If you're not subscribed to the JPB YouTube channel, then do lend us a subscription so that you catch both next week's race and all the other racing that happens between here and then. It's a very busy Sunday afternoon / evening. So it'd be very good to see you join us for another one of our broadcasts, indeed tonight or on any of the other nights as well. I've been Ian Leary alongside James Parfitt. Until we see you again in the OGRL Coffee Cup next week at Imola for round 11. It's goodbye for now.
Go.